Good morning, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. This is Grandpap, and I'm coming to you from the living room in Jacksonville Beach. It's been a while since I've done one of these Exodus uh, readings, but I had some things to do with the new vehicle I purchased and some family stuff to do. I haven't gotten a chance to make very many YouTube videos at all, but I'm back. I'm on the first full day of a 65-hour water fast. So it's Monday morning. Actually, now it's early Monday afternoon. Around this time on Wednesday, I'll start breaking the fast. So last we looked at Moses and the children of Israel. They had, God had brought 10 plagues on Egypt, the last of which was to kill the firstborn of all the people that didn't have the mark, the red, the blood on the lintels of the doorposts. Then they were thrown out summarily. Finally, they got to the Red Sea, believed that they were trapped, and Moses went, nah, God's got your back. He lifted up this rod, and the Red Sea parted. The Egyptians walked through. I'm sorry, the children of Israel walked through. Then Pharaoh went, wait a minute, go get those guys, and sent his army out there. God caused the army to get stuck. The Egyptians walked through it like it was dry land. But when the children of Israel walked through it, it was like they were on dry land. But when the Egyptians got in there, their chariot wheels got stuck. There was mud and all this stuff. God just does things like that. He doesn't do it often, though. He does miracles very often, but they're usually not anything very, very over the top like this. Killing a whole army. So my voice isn't really good today, but my voice quite often isn't really good. Anyway, when they got out, they sang a song of praise. Who is like you, O Lord among the gods, Mika Mocha. And now they're going to start to journey out into this part of the desert. And we're going to see that they're going to get manna today. I'm pretty hungry right now. Manna would taste pretty good to me. When they journeyed from Elim, the entire company of Israelites came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. So it's not saying that this is a sinful place or anything like that. It's just the name. And I'm sure that Sin and Sinai actually have something to do with each other. On the 15th day of the second month after their exodus from the land of Egypt. So it hasn't been that long, but they did stay for a while on the coast there. I can't figure out if it was 75 days or 45 days, because in the Bible they write things a little differently. So they stayed, and then they went. The entire company of Israelites murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, if only we have died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And that's not what he did. He didn't know what he did. He just was following orders. He took them out there. And they did have some food with them. Apparently that food is gone now. Then the Lord said to Moses, I'm going to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people will go out and gather the amount for each day so that I may test them. Will they walk in my law or not? On the sixth day, they will prepare what they bring in, and it will be twice as much as they gather every other day. So once again, there's a biblical theme. There's going to be 6 days to work, and then there's going to be a day of rest. So they'll get twice as much on the last day of the week, or the sixth day of the week, whatever you want to call it. We would call it Saturday. The Jews would call it Friday. Friday at give or take 6 p.m. It's at sundown. Until Saturday at 6 p.m. That's the Jewish Sabbath. The Christian Sabbath is all day Sunday. So their Sabbath, they would call it. So on Friday, the Jews would go out and they would collect twice as much. Twice as much would come down. If they were going by the Christian way of doing things, you'd go out on Saturday. Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites in the evening, you will know that I am the Lord. You will know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your murmurings against the Lord. As for us, what are we that you should murmur against us? Moses said, you will know this, when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening and bread in the morning to satisfy you, because the Lord has heard your murmurings that you are murmuring against him. As for us, what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, tell the whole community of the Israelites, come before the Lord, because he has heard your murmurings. As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the Israelites, and they looked toward the wilderness, there the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke to Moses, I have heard the murmurings of the Israelites. Tell them, during the evening you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be satisfied with bread, so that you may know that I am the Lord your God. In the evening the quail came up and covered the camp. So these are little birds. And in the morning, a layer of dew was all around the camp. When the layer of dew had evaporated, there on the surface of the wilderness was a thin, flaky substance, thin like frost on the earth. When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, what is it? Because they did not know what it was. And that's, most scholars believe that that's what manna is. What is it? Hey, what is it? Moses said to them, it is the bread that the Lord has given you for food. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each person is to gather from it what he can eat, an omer per person. And I don't know what an omer is, how much it is. According to the number of your people, each one will pick it up for whoever lives in his tent. The Israelites did so, and they gathered some more, some less. When they measured with an omer, the one who gathered much had nothing left over, and the one who gathered little lacked nothing. Each one had gathered what they could eat. So even if they tried to cheat a little bit, or they were just lazy and didn't measure it right, everybody got exactly what they needed to eat. Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it until morning." But they did not listen to Moses. Some kept part of it until morning, and it was full of worms, and it began to stink. And Moses was angry with them. So they gathered it each morning, each person according to what he could eat. And when the sun got hot, it would melt. And that's how human beings act. You know, they try to get away with stuff, and then they learn their lesson. And they go, ooh, I'm not gonna violate this. But then, sometimes people don't learn their lesson. And on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers per person. And all the leaders of the community came and told Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is a time of cessation from work, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Whatever you want to bake today, whatever you want to boil today, whatever is left, put aside for yourselves to be kept until morning." So normally, if you keep it, it's filled with worms, maggots, whatever. But one day of the week, you get twice as much, and you keep it. What's this, all about? It's all about, do you trust God? God tells you to do something, you do it. Might not make sense. None of this makes sense. Bread falling out of the sky. It's like dew. Sometimes it gets spoiled overnight, and sometimes it doesn't. It's impossible to measure it correctly. None of it makes sense. God's stuff doesn't make sense. But it's all about, do you trust him? You do what you believe he wants you to do. And these people knew exactly what he wanted them to do. Moses told them. There was a smoking cloud that the representation of him was in. They had that. They just went through getting rescued, getting out of Egypt. Now they're out here and he's doing these miracles, and they're still messing up. So they put it aside until the morning, just as Moses had commanded, and it did not stink, nor were there any worms in it. Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the area." So when they get up in the morning, normally it's there. They wait for it to dry and they go out and get it. But on this day, it's a Sabbath. You're not supposed to work. "6 days you will gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will not be any." On the seventh day, some of the people went out to gather it, but they found nothing. So it's not all the people, but some of them. So the Lord said to Moses, "How long do you refuse to obey my commandments and my instructions? See, because the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why he is giving you food for 2 days on the 6th day. Each of you stay where you are. Let no one go out of his place on the 7th day." So the people rested on the 7th day. People test God. Even today, I mean in Reformed Jewish communities, they probably do all kinds of stuff on the Sabbath. But in Orthodox Jewish communities and the Lubavitcher and people like that, they have all kinds of laws that they follow. They can't drive a car on the Sabbath. And that's from sundown on Friday until sundown on Saturday. They can't drive a car, so when they go to the synagogue, they have to walk. And they can only walk a certain amount of distance. So they have to be within that distance of the synagogue. So when you go to these neighborhoods, they all live right near the synagogue, and you see them on Saturdays and Friday evenings, walking to go to services. And they don't cook. They're not allowed to light a fire on Saturday, from sundown. So as soon as it's Sabbath, Shabbat is how you say it in Hebrew. As soon as the Shabbat starts, you can light a candle, because they do that, but you can't light your stove. You can't prepare any food. So they prepare the food beforehand, and then they have it in the refrigerator. They eat everything cold. Well, I guess on the Shabbat, you could prepare hot food and then serve it right after 6 o'clock. But after that, until the end of Shabbat, 6 o'clock on Saturday, if you're eating stuff, it's cold food. So they take this seriously. But in any community of people, you're going to have some that take it seriously and some that try to get away with what they can get away with. So the people rested on the seventh day. The house of Israel called its name manna. It was like coriander seed and was white. It tasted like wafers with honey. Sounds delicious, and especially now that I haven't had anything to eat in something like 17 hours. Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it to be kept for generations to come, so that they may see the food I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Egypt." So they're saving some, and it's eventually going to go in the Ark of the Covenant. Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put in it an omer full of manna and place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come. Just as the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron placed it before the Ark of the Testimony for safekeeping." Now the Israelites ate manna 40 years until they came to a land that was inhabited. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now an omer, we're going to find out what it is. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. So if you don't know what an ephah is, you don't know what an omer is. So now they solved the food problem for the next 40 years. But how about water? We're going to get to that next time when we get to chapter 17. Peace out.